Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, October 26, 2024. As we move on to this November surprise and see where things are going to be going, we're here to talk about something called good old-fashioned UFOs in a time that we turn our broadcast time back from our usual at, 6 p.m. Pacific to 10 p.m. London time. So on that note, let's go ahead and jump into the audience. Let's jump into the studio, friends, and welcome you all to our weekly UFO news roundup. Well, last night we had a bunch of good stuff going on, and today we've got another interview that we're going to be replaying and talking about from Lou Elizondo, and also talking about a lot of the things that happened earlier in the week that we haven't had time to talk about yet, folks. On that note, let's go ahead and I've got to go ahead. I do need to have this here. Let me go ahead and find the frequency. Let me go ahead. Kick up the drums and let's go ahead. And welcome in our audience. How about that? How you doing, audience? Happy Saturday, everybody. Hopefully it's been a good one for you. Let's take a look who's out in the chat. Well, would you look at that? We've got Andy W. Diggerdog, Idaho Strong, Invisible Tracker, J-Cat, Kathy, Kelly Broten, those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. Roland Gibbs is here along with Steve into Mothman. How about that? It's not just, though, friends, about the people in the chat. Sometimes it's about our friends in the back. First, let's take our sights and put it across the United Kingdom. I got one of our great friends here, Mr. Andy W. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, Thomas. Happy Saturday, everybody. Yeah, going well.
Great to have you here, my friend.
Night the clocks change here in the UK, so yeah, we're going to be a bit out of phase with you Americans
when
for
do you
a couple
change?
of weeks. I think it's tonight.
Tonight, yeah. We don't change here until after Halloween. Got to give those kids that extra time. And honestly, I wish we never had to turn our clock back, my friend.
Oh, it's a absolute pain.
Oh, I know.
We should just extra in bed tonight, so called, but yeah, it's not really.
Not really. Not when you have kids.
Nope. Well, thankfully, mine are old enough now to not need that. So.
Oh, yeah. I hear what you're saying, my friend. I hear from you saying, well, turning our sights back on the United States, we have one of our dear remote viewing targeter friends, Laura Campbell. How's it going, Laura?
It's going great, Thomas. Looks like we have some more big solar flares headed this way.
Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, I update people all the time on that. That's one of my passions. And thanks for... Oh, wait a minute. Thanks for bringing that up, Laura. I clicked on the wrong one. Andy, you're there. Say hello again. I didn't even have your picture up, my friend.
Hello.
There you go. Also, we have another one of our dear friends, Shelly Montgomery. How's it going, Shelly?
Thomas, hello. It's going good. Glad to be here. Can't wait to see what you think.
Great to have you here, my dear lady. Absolutely. Also, we have our last contestant today on The Price is Right now on the dating game. We have Tia Loreno. How's it going, Tia?
Hey, Thomas. Excited for the show.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Saturdays.
Yeah, got another hour video interview of Lou Elizondo. We're going to be playing back and watching and to catch up on a lot of UFO news and interesting things that are coming out from the former President Trump, as well as a lot of... what do you want to call it? A lot of pictures that have come forward from the National Archives, so it should be a pretty good one.
Good. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. Sorry, dog was scratching. Get out of the studio. Let me go ahead and turn that off and welcome in our dear friend, Mike, Disclosure. How's it going, Mike?
Going very well, Thomas. And we're going to have another interesting show talking about Lou Elizondo and what he's been up to lately.
Yeah, that is true. But you know, Mike.
Oh.
Yes, another year has passed. It's been a year since Mike's birthday and a year since Sawan has been on Disclosure Tonight. Yes, if you remember last year's episode of Disclosure Tonight, when we had Mike's birthday, him and Sawan told him to F off and a whole bunch of other stuff. And he hasn't been around, but Mike has. How about that? So, Mike, a year has passed. What do you look back over the last year and show as some of your greatest accomplishments?
Oh, well, we've had a lot, you and I, from last year to now. Last year, it started off, we broke the story on Mike Turner and what he's been up to in Congress, which went viral. If you remember, mainstream media actually covered our story. And all the way from then to now, we recently, the other day, covered on the show how they're trying to cancel the next UAP hearing. So you and I have done a lot of amazing work together, and we've covered it all from then to now on the show. It's been fun.
Oh yeah, it has
a lot
been
of fun.
Mike. Absolutely. As I turn off the top lights, sorry to get the shine off my head, but yeah, Mike, happy birthday to you. We know you're a young man again. It almost seems by the sound of your voice like you're getting younger every year.
I only wish that were true, but unfortunately it's not. But we do our best to hold up and move forward. Can't pay attention to things like that. Nothing we can control.
Yeah.
So just keep busy. Do what we've always been doing. That's the best approach.
Yeah. And for a special birthday treat for you, Mike, I actually reached out to our friends at Neural Viz, the people who come up with unknown oddities.
Okay.
And we got permission to show episode 1 on Disclosure tonight. So a little birthday present for you. Let's go ahead and start off with this fun video here. And let's get right to it. Oh, I love this one. I've showed little clips of this before. I had to get permission. So here we go, folks. Let's enjoy this.
On tonight's episode of Unanswered Oddities, humans. Are they real or just a youngling's fairy tale? Humans have been a great mystery of our time. These creatures of lore supposedly ate potatoes and enjoyed sleep. They're thought to be long extinct, if they ever existed at all. But recent sightings all across the world have drummed up the debate once again. Rural Morgmog, 2 hours outside of Deedle, a hiker claims to have seen a human.
So yeah, it was a Tuesday night. I had just gotten home from spitting. I went out for my midnight lurk. You know, I was just being creepy and weird, and that's when I saw it. It was a human. You could tell by the knees. I've seen them in the historical books, and it was just standing there, listening to sounds. I thought I might die.
I was called to the scene around midnight. Mr. Fugsnuck was in a panic. I searched the area for humans, but only found a toothbrush.
We don't know much about humans, other than they were most likely wildly stupid creatures. We do believe they did some cool things, though, like super sweet water sports.
The current prevailing theory is that humanity was wiped off the planet by what were called escalators. One by one, each human slowly sucked into the moving stairs, taken out by their own dumb invention. It would have been quite the sight.
But of course not everyone believes that humans existed.
Humans ain't real, brother. That's a ruse made up by the monolith to distract us from the fact that they are putting plants in our food.
Whether you are a believer or not, something happened to Mr. Fugsnuck that night.
Now that I think about it, it could have just been a tree that I saw. It was pretty dark, and my eyes were closed, so it's hard to say.
As is department policy, I fired off multiple rounds into those woods just in case there was a human. I was promoted shortly after.
Without definitive proof, we may never know if humans actually existed or still exist today. What we do know is water sports are awesome.
There you go. I've watched this so many times. One of my favorite characters. Oh, we've got this character, Little Herbert Warnog. Where's Tiggy Skibbles? Come on, Tiggy, where'd you go? Reminds me of some skeptics that we know. Let me just play this clip one more time.
Humans ain't real, brother. That's a ruse made up by the monolith to distract us from the fact that they are putting plants in our food.
Mike, you like the video?
Every time I hear that video, I laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
That cop actually needs your voice.
Yeah. Maybe we could talk to our friends over there, and I'll do some dubbing for them.
There we go. I think it's
There we
all
go.
actually. The voices, the characters, everything is all made with AI. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's
Yeah.
hysterical. It
I know.
really hits on this topic.
Oh, it does. You know, there's so many personalities in this video that remind me of personalities from Disclosure and this show, actually.
Yes, that we know very well. You're right.
Exactly.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Got to
Oh,
be
yeah.
serious about not being serious. I love it.
Absolutely. Andy, you had your hand up, my friend?
No, I was just going to say to Mike, happy birthday, my friend. I'm raising a glass to you, sir. There'll be no F-bombs for you tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, mate. And the warm thoughts. It's very, very appreciated and very nice of you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we have a lot to cover tonight. So it's going to
we
be
do have
a
a lot to cover, a bunch of things. First thing we're going to start off is we're going to watch videos. One of the things we like doing here most at the Disclosure tonight, because it makes my job nice and easy, but we will be pausing along the way and watching this. So this video came from the official Luis Elizondo channel on YouTube. We do have permission to show this one. So we're going to go ahead and show this one first and have some fun with it. Here we go, folks. And we will be stopping along the way for commentary as we usually do here on Disclosure tonight. Here we go.
I'm Lou Elizondo, and it's been a while. Please forgive me for not engaging you folks recently on social media. I realize I've been a little bit lax. I promise you there's a lot of things that I've been engaged with behind the scenes in Washington, D.C., and frankly around the world on this topic. There's a lot happening. It's not an excuse. It's just an explanation why I haven't been very good on social media recently. But I want to take this opportunity to address some of your questions, and specifically on YouTube. I've been promising to get to some of your questions for a while now, so I thought this would be a good opportunity. I've got a slight lull where I can now take your questions directly, and I think it's important enough where I carve some time out to make this happen. There's a lot of things happening in the very near future that I think are going to continue to help drive the disclosure movement, but until then, I also realize that I need to engage you more. You are very much part of that equation. So I've invited a very good friend of mine, Mark Kovich, from across the pond over in the United Kingdom to help shepherd this process. He has forgotten more about social media than I will ever know about social media. So he has aggregated a lot of your questions over the course of several weeks and months, and even the last time I was engaging Mark. There's a lot of questions you all have, so we're going to try to address some of those today, this afternoon. We won't have time for every one of the questions. Obviously, there's thousands and thousands of questions, but we're going to try to pick some of the big ones that you all have been asking and see if I can address them for you here today. So with that, and no further ado, let me introduce you to the one and only Mark Kovich.
That's good to see you again. Are you ready for this, Lou?
I am ready. Yeah. Let me clear my voice a little bit by me, and get ready to.
Well, look, these videos are very much going to be minimally me talking. I want to try my best to just pick some of the questions. I've gone through the YouTube comments, and I just want to shout out to everyone listening right now. Remember, all of Lou's social media platforms, they're all out there, whether you use TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Do me a favor, go and follow across the multiple platforms, and if you have a question that you want answered, just drop it in the comments. Even with this video here, I will be going through every now and again and picking them and firing them Lou's way. So, Lou, thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm aware of all the things you've got going on. I know you are literally packing your bags and getting ready to do, your first live speaking engagements around the United States. I know that there's 1,000 things happening with the book and everything, so thank you. I'm going to start off with the person who managed to get the first comment on your first YouTube video. Okay. So this is someone called Olivia Barad 5154 from YouTube, and he just simply said, "I love you, man." And it's a nice thing to say because
I love you too. Thank you. Very heartfelt.
You know what? There are thousands and thousands of comments, literally way over 3,000. Some of them are batched. I'm going to try my best to pick them, but I did want to give credit where credit was due for the guy who managed to get the first.
Well, listen, Mark, I appreciate that, and I appreciate, of course, the handle. Can you repeat the handle one more time, the YouTube handle, so I can thank them expressly?
I think it's pronounced Olivier Barad, which is
Olivier Barad. Well, hopefully I pronounced it correctly, but thank you very much. Also, before we begin, Mark, just real quick, little shout out to Mark. Thank you for what you do.
Lou, you are far too kind, far too kind. Well, if I may, I'm going to jump into the first question, which comes from Instagram. This is from Steve Kwiat, I think, Kwiat, 1982. So this is via Instagram. He says, Lou, will you be popping over to the UK for any live dates? And what's the reason you decided now was the right time to do in-person speaking events?
Great question. So yes, I am hightailing it over to the UK, one of my most favorite places in the whole wide world. I've often said this before. Every time I take my wife over there, if you look carefully at London Heathrow in the international terminal, you're going to notice what appear to be scratch marks. They're actually claw marks made by my wife as I had to drag her away from the UK each time to come back to the US. We love the UK. It's really our second home. And so, yes, I will be coming back to the UK probably in late November and early December to spend some time there, to do some engagements, to also engage with you and folks like you. The second question is, why now? Well, my response is pretty simple and probably kind of cheeky, but don't take it that way. Why not? Now's the best time to do it. We should have happened 2 months ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago. If not now, then when? So I think the time is right. It's been right for a while. There's a lot of things happening both internationally and here in the United States where the conversation is becoming far more acceptable. And now we need government leadership involved in some of those conversations. Not necessarily politics, right? Not political leaders, but governmental leaders in both in the scientific community, the academic community, in the defense communities, intelligence communities, get everybody together under one tent, start having this conversation.
Love that. Next question. This comes from YouTube. This is Brian Matthews 232. He says, "Good luck with a new channel. What percentage of your knowledge on this topic do you think you have revealed so far?"
Ooh. Well, I revealed 100% of what I could reveal through legal channels. My book was reviewed after a year process through the Pentagon. It finally got approved for me to release. And what you see in the book was basically a 3.5-year effort to get out just a small portion of what I've been privy to. Probably 5, maybe 8% of what I know I've been able to discuss, but each year it goes higher and higher. There's more and more and more percentage. The book, obviously, my book coming out, there's going to be people who read it and say, wow, I had no idea about that. And that's because I received approval to do so. So my hope is that we can continue to have this conversation, and every time we talk, more and more is going to be revealed. In fact, I'm doing a talk here publicly here in the U.S. and probably in the U.K. too, where I'm going to go to even more detail. I have a very comprehensive briefing that I'll be providing people now on the road to talk about this topic and talk about the physics and some of the theories and the mathematics and whatnot. So I'm very encouraged that we're going to have a lot more information here to provide forthcoming.
The next question is a mixture between JL11 and someone called Hello, How Are You Doing on YouTube. And I want to join these two questions from these two subscribers because it's actually reflective of many, many, many questions. So as a reminder, I'm aware that there's thousands and thousands of comments and questions. This is really a bit of a representation of many. Tough question, I think, but someone says, so the first question is, you've started a channel a month ago or months ago at this point, and you're not uploading content frequently. The question is, why have you been so quiet on social media channels? But that's kind of backed up by others saying, is this really you? Is it that someone's kind of forcing you to make these videos or something, right? So it's a bit of a, I guess, a coalesced question off. Is this really Elizondo that I'm speaking to right now?
Well, I don't want to make content for the sake of making just content, right? To me, quality of information is much more important than quantity. I could do a video every single day and just regurgitate and recycle things that people already know. I'm not sure that's very helpful. I'm not sure people really want that. I think what people want is when I do speak to have new information. And so that's why I'm very judicious in my approach when I use social media to either comment on something or break some new news. There's a lot happening, folks. There's a lot happening. There are, there's a chance I may be testifying here soon. I won't go into details. But
I was going to say, if it helps for those listening, I can tell you for sure this really is the real Lou Elizondo.
Oh yeah, it's me.
Question. It's definitely him. Yeah. This is the next question from someone who calls themselves Acid in My Wine, and this is again through YouTube. Firstly, hey Lou, I really appreciate all of the work that you're doing. In your book, you stated a prevailing theory that the UAP are using water, splitting hydrogen, and then using this hydrogen photon for energy. Assuming this is the case, do you think it could explain dark oxygen? Because it does look similar to solid nuclear waste, and I was curious if that's at all related.
Yeah, I've actually heard about that. I am not an expert in dark oxygen. I'm familiar with the relatively new announcements about it and its rarefied form and what it is. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in dark oxygen to say definitively one way or the other. But when you look at the theory of mining water, the reason why it's water isn't not necessarily because it's just water, right? We drink water because we have to survive. But if some civilization is deriving energy that they require using one of the most fundamental elements in our universe, right? Being the hydrogen atom, one proton, neutron, and one electron, then it makes sense that if you needed to break that down to get to the subatomic level to really release some of the energy you need that's contained in those tightly packed relationships that subatomic particles have, then you'd start with a hydrogen atom. You wouldn't start with something complicated and spend more energy trying to break down a complex molecule into something simple when you can start with water that's really just hydrogen and oxygen, remove the oxygen molecule, and now you've got all the hydrogen you need. You could mine hydrogen almost effortlessly. People often say, well, hydrogen is the most common element in the universe. It is, but it's also the most diffuse, meaning it's in these large gaseous clouds, and to mine something like that probably wouldn't be very easy, right? It's imagine trying to go into a cloud to harvest water. Probably better to go to water to harvest water. So in this particular case, if you wanted to harvest hydrogen, hydrogen is found naturally in a very condensed state in only one combination, and that is with oxygen, and that makes H2O, or water.
The next question comes from Richard Till 6331. He says, Lou Elizondo, thank you for everything you do. I have a question. If Russia were getting ready to launch a nuclear weapon, do you think these quote-unquote beings, aliens, etc., have the ability to neutralize these weapons? Personally, I wish they'd be proactive and neutralize every nuclear weapon.
Yeah, here, me too. Hell, I wish they'd neutralize every weapon, period. But that's not up to me. We do know that they have the ability to interfere with our nuclear capabilities. We have seen them in some cases what would appear to be deactivating an entire flight of our nuclear missiles, ballistic missiles. But as encouraging as that may be, in Russia, it was a different case. A UAP actually armed one. And so therein lies my concern. And furthermore, if you look at your question on the historical context of the greater UAP issue, you'll notice something. In fact, there's only been one country that's ever deployed an atomic or nuclear device, and that's been the United States. And we did it in World War II, and we vaporized almost 500,000 souls off the planet almost instantly. And the UAP didn't stop that from happening either in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Furthermore, they didn't stop the development from the atomic age to the nuclear age, where we go from the kiloton yield to now the megaton yield, right?
They haven't. They didn't interfere in World War II, where millions of Jews were disappeared, for that matter, when there's been horrible famines, horrible natural disasters. There's been no interaction. They're not here to save us, folks. Not even close. They're not here to give us technology to stop global warming. They're not here to give us med beds to save all of our medical issues like I have and a lot of other people have. No. They've got other things they're up to. They're not here to be our savior. Just be clear on that.
The city squashers, the real big nukes. They didn't stop the testing of nuclear technologies in the deserts of Nevada or Russia doing high-altitude tests or underwater tests. In fact, they didn't stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons, going from just the United States, then Russia, and now everybody to include possibly Iran and North Korea and Pakistan and India and, name your country, all have now nuclear capabilities.
Right, and wherever nuclear weapons are, they actually act as a really good way to shine a light on it, because they'll be right over our facilities or our enemies' facilities. So if there's a question whether some of our enemies have it or not, just watch for the UFOs. They'll tell us.
weapons, right? They didn't stop that from happening. And they didn't stop some of the nuclear accidents like 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl or Fukushima. So the argument that, are they here to help?
But they were seen over Chernobyl. They were seen over Fukushima. Potentially, they may have done some things in both of those to make it not so bad. So they haven't stopped it. Maybe they've done some things to mitigate it a little bit. Maybe they have some vested interest in this planet besides us.
There's just no evidence to suggest that, other than, maybe wishful thinking. Now, I wish the same thing. I really hope that's the case. We just don't have any real information to substantiate that. And so there's a lot of people at the Pentagon that don't want to take that risk. They're not willing to say, look, I'm going to gamble your future and our safety because we hope these things are here for nice reasons, right? That's a gamble that your national security apparatus and most national security apparatuses aren't willing to take that chance. And frankly, I don't blame them. I understand that mindset.
Here's a challenging question from Roasted Coyote 1. And this is one I saw on Instagram a lot, a little bit on X, but this is pitched on YouTube.
All right, hit me.
Reincarnation suggests humans are extra-dimensional. How does that fit into the puzzle? Dr. Jim Tucker, UVA, has written extensively on reincarnation. What's your take on this?
Well, I don't know if reincarnation is necessarily extra-dimensional or hyper-dimensional or trans-dimensional. Part of the problem is we really have to be specific on our use of certain terminology. For example, we used to say UFO. Well, what does that mean? And what about USOs? And, what about, are they even really flying? So now we change it to UAP and whatnot. Terms are important. When we say reincarnation, that is a theological, religious, philosophical belief system that requires the belief that people are kind of recycled, kind of green technology, right? We live, we learn, we die, and then we come back again, and we kind of go through these experiences in this hope that we will eventually evolve ourselves emotionally and physically and spiritually to become the perfect human being, whatever that perfection looks like, right? It's an eye of the beholder. Religion, by definition, is supernatural. Religion is extra-dimensional. It's a belief, and by the way, you notice I'm not giving you my own personal belief here. It doesn't mean I'm not religious and I'm not spiritual. Let me just caveat that. But I'm saying the belief in religion and spirituality, by definition, you have to believe in interdimensions, because it's a belief in something, an idea where when someone dies, they potentially go somewhere else. But where they go isn't really a physical place, is it now? It's a place that is sometimes called heaven, or even some may say purgatory for something else, some may say hell. But either way, it's a new type of existence, a different type of existence than the one we're living right now in a three-dimensional space and time and whatnot. So the two kind of go hand in hand. Now, when it comes to the UAP phenomenon, are we now saying, like some have said before, that UAP really are, and these, aliens, if you want to call them aliens, or non-human intelligence, are themselves spiritual beings? Are they? Some have said that they could be angels, and if you believe in angels, right, then one has to say, okay, then they're believing in an interdimensional being or a supernatural being, and therefore UAPs and UFOs and the whole topic belong in the realm of that conversation of inter or ultra dimensions or hyper dimensions that we can't perceive because of our fundamental lack of senses. We have 5 senses to judge the universe. If we can't touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, etc., it doesn't exist. We can't interact with it unless we do through technology. But we know that there is reality beyond those 5 senses, right? In fact, most of the universe lies beyond those 5 senses. And so, I can't sit here and tell you definitively that UAP are interdimensional. Some have certainly have postulated that they could be interdimensional. But I'm not sure we even understand enough about our own dimension, our own reality, to speculate on what another reality or a parallel reality or maybe a shadow biome, if you feel a shadow biosphere maybe living in and around us all along, but we just can't perceive it. This kind of goes back to the old stories and lore of like fairies, where to this day people believe in them, right? They believe in them just as we believe in everything else. But they postulate that these things live in a parallel dimension, and most of the time we can't interact unless there's some sort of special circumstances, maybe where the two dimensions come together, and now you kind of have this bleed off effect where you can. I'm not an expert in religion. I am not an expert in philosophy. I am not an expert in necessarily interdimensional science or string theory. So I want to be careful not to offer my opinion one way or the other. All I want to do is address the question you're asking me. So I'm listening and I'm understanding, and at the same time try to explain why I don't have an answer, simply because I don't have an answer. I'm not an expert enough in those fields to tell you one way or the other, but it's a great question.
Love that question. Next one is from Last Stand Farm 2273. This was one of the very early commenters on your first YouTube video. Asks, Lou, can you expand on the Italians' helicopter that was allegedly shot down by a UAP and anything we have learned from that? Yeah,
one of the lead investigators was actually the equivalent of the Italian commander for the SEALs, their Navy SEALs equivalent, Special Operations. So let me give you a little background. There was this city on an island that was being plagued by what they considered fires that were just occurring randomly. And when you looked at when the investigators looked at the burn patterns in some of these older houses where the copper wiring was a conduit, they were actually able to calculate the wavelength. And they thought this was some sort of directed energy. Initially, they thought it was a Soviet sub, a Russian submarine near the horizon that was shooting directed energy beams at the village, and it was causing these fires. And so because of that, they built this huge Faraday cage, actually, around the village, in front of the village, to try to see if they could actually collect these waves. When they started seeing UAP discs, floating orbs, silver discs, and there's multiple pictures and photographs and videos. I actually spoke to the people who ran the investigation. It was a top secret investigation at the time, not U.S. top secret, so I can talk about it, foreign top secret. And it's no longer top secret. They released the results. So let me just caveat that. I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm not talking about anything classified. But when they got up close and personal to one of these UAP, it reacted. And in fact, they described it shooting out some sort of beam and interfering with the helicopter, not just the mechanics, but the actual physical structure. And when the helicopter came down to do an emergency landing, they looked at the blade of one of the helicopter blades that provide lift for the helicopter, and it appeared to be blown out from the inside out, as if think of sap on a tree when there's a fire, right? And then that sap burns inside the tree.
Think about it this way, different way, Lou. Think about it this way: crop circles, Andy. When a crop circle lays down the wheat is actually the stem is exploded from the inside out, right, Andy?
Yep, that's correct. It's one of the ways to tell if it's a genuine crop circle or not. Right. Your person walking around with a plank of wood on a piece of ropes, treading it down, will only bend the stalks. These I think they're called nubs. Don't quote me on it. Where the sort of stem shoots up a bit, and then it gets like the bulbous bit. That bit inside the bulbous bit explodes, almost like it's been cooked by a microwave. Yep. Imagine popcorn, exactly the same thing that happens to popcorn when it explodes in your microwave. This happens. It's a not radioactive, is it? It's microwave radiation. But
another way to look at it, scary action at a distance.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be in the field when these things are happening. Yeah.
If it did that to your kneecaps, that would be horrible.
Yeah, my kneecaps are shot anyway, but yeah.
Yeah.
I won't want that happening to them.
Exactly. Here we go.
And kind of explodes the tree very much the same way. And I've seen the pictures, I've seen the video. There is absolutely something that is pursuing this helicopter. This helicopter was a undercover helicopter, right? You couldn't tell it was a military helicopter. Only the people flying it knew it was a military mission. And so they were very concerned about that. Fascinating investigation, and it's a great question because people forget about that, and these types of investigations are occurring around the world.
This one's from Bodiefuller 9783. Lou, we keep hearing rumours about a quote-unquote major event that could be the reason for the disclosure timeline that is now in place. Does this event have anything to do with this asteroid Apophis scheduled very narrowly to miss our planet in 2027?
Negative. It has nothing to do with the asteroid Apophis and its approach to Earth. It has to do with something else potentially, which I'm not.
Supposedly something that's on its way towards Earth that's going to arrive around that time, around 2034, 2036. Somewhere in there, and it's actually course correcting along the way as it's heading towards good old planet Earth. Andy?
Yeah, I think that's quite important what you just said. You actually brought up what I was considering, that it seems he knows, you know, he was quite emphatic in his no, this is not 2027. I think he is privy to more information. Obviously, we know he is. It could well, and that's what sprung to my mind when I heard him say this on Friday or whenever I was listening to it.
There's something heading our way. We're not going to be able to stop. Let's continue.
Prepared to go into conversation right now.
Understood, and I know naturally a lot of people would be curious on that note. Is there anything you'd want to expand on that when it comes to 2027?
Not 2027, but there may have been some other dates proposed, but I'm gonna let the experts noodle on that and figure that out. It's certainly too premature for me to say anything one way or the other because we simply don't have enough data. So I'm just gonna do a polite pass on that question, and that. Good question.
Understood. This next one.
Really quick, I want to thank some people for some super chats that have been coming in. First, I want to go ahead and thank Wildcat Mahone for a super chat for $8.88. Also want to go ahead and thank FaZe Wolf for a super chat of $9.99. And another one for Brian Pemble saying, Thomas, please share this with his mic for his AARP membership. Mike, I didn't realize you have an AARP membership. No comment from the peanut gallery on that one. Tia?
Hi. So don't get mad at me, audience, because I'm not saying anything disrespectful to really bad, but I'm going to start calling him Lindy Lucy Luhu Lion Lou, because he knows exactly what the hell this guy's talking about. It's not premature.
Well, he's like Lou always does. He talks around it. He knows stuff, but he wants other people to bring it out. He doesn't want it to come from him. That's just how Lou is, how Lou has been for the longest time.
I know. And I don't ever disrespect anybody that I can't really, prove anything. But I just think that this is just to me personally, I think that he knows a lot more than what he's saying. Even if he can't say it, he can say, I can't say it, but I can refer you to, what so-and-so said publicly.
I got
right?
You. But no one's really said anything about this, except John Ramirez started this thing about saying 2027. It's later than 2027.
And Christopher Bledsoe, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly. All right, let's move on with this. Great point, though. I appreciate that, Tia. But that's just how Lou is. He'll say a bunch of little things. We call me drops breadcrumbs to help lead the way there. But it's, it can be frustrating at times. I get you. Here we go.
It comes from Miss Mary Contrary, and this is through Instagram. Here's a question which says, Lou, do you think it's possible to back engineer these things, or is it the case that we just don't know the physics?
No, I think we know the physics, and I sure hope we have the capacity to reverse engineer it. I cannot say definitively one way or the other if we are, or if we have any intention to. That's not my place to do so. But you know, we're here in the U.S. We're a clever group of little monkeys. We can figure things out pretty good. And certainly, if there's an advantage that can be gained by understanding some sort of new technology, my hope is that there's somebody in our government doing that. And that's about all I'm prepared to say right now. Good question. Boy, these are tough questions. Wow.
This is what I love. I love your willingness to go out onto social media and have these direct conversations with people, because there are...
But he's been doing this for years. This is what Lou has always done, honestly.
Great questions, and it is an honor to be able to take your questions and pose them to Lou in this manner. And here we go for the next one.
By the way, just so you know, it feels like, do you want to know what it feels like? It feels like being a bug that's been put into a petri dish under a bright white light, and someone's looking at you through a microscope.
I bet. I bet. I can only imagine. And the other thing that people have to realize is, I'm obviously aware, Lou, just how busy your schedule is at the moment. I realize that we don't have a lot of time, and I can only imagine how many different directions your brain is being pulled apart in. So the fact that you've got the cognitive function still to try and...
Okay, on the question about have we reverse engineered this stuff, Lou has said many times we lack the material science to reproduce this stuff. A lot of the parts of the craft are supposedly created in 0G, no gravity, under very high heat and very high pressure and an atomic scale. Now, doesn't mean we can't go ahead and get some of the crash parts and hobble them together and strap it on and do other kinds of stuff to go ahead and make something with some force behind it. Yeah, but as far as us being able to reverse engineer these things, if we had that technology... I don't think China or Russia or Ukraine or any of the things that have been going on and any of the conflicts in the world would be happening, because the United States would be unstoppable. Here we go.
To these, I'm very impressed with.
I didn't say I have cognitive functions at all at this point. I think I'm probably flatlining pretty much right at this point. I'm pretty physically and emotionally and mentally exhausted. But look, it's important, and I've got it a lot better than other people. Mark, you know that. I've always considered myself a blessed man. I've achieved more than I ever dreamed of achieving, and I've been able to experience more than I ever thought I would experience, and I've had more love in my life than I probably deserve. So I'm a very blessed man, and a lot of people out there have it a hell of a lot tougher than me. So I'm not going to complain. I'm going to continue doing what I try to do the best, and just answer people's questions. And that's, if you ask me a hard question, that's what's wine. That's what wine is for. At the end of the night.
I love that. Okay, so probably worth noting that...
And Vino Veritas, right?
Exactly. Well, this isn't going to be the only time Lou is jumping on his YouTube channel. We plan to do this a lot, so this won't be the last opportunity for questions. Look, Lou doesn't have too much time, so I'm going to wrap up with probably 3 more questions. But please, if you're listening to this right now, jump onto the socials, go to louelizondo-official.com, make sure you sign up to the mailing list, get across all of the good stuff, and I know that Lou would love to answer every single question if he could. But based on the time, let's see if I can dig up some real good...
And we are going to re-emphasize, Mark, we are really, to the audience, we are going to be doing this much more frequently, more often, even if it's literally a drive-by while I'm driving somewhere. I want to make sure I address people's questions as much as possible.
Well, here we go. This is Alison James Murphy, 2744 through YouTube, is asking, assuming this person's read your book... have you seen any more orbs? I take my hat off to you, your wife and your daughters. Keep strong. Best wishes from South Wales, UK.
Wow, thank you so much. We haven't recently in some time. Pretty much when I remove myself from ATIP, what some people refer to as the high strangeness, I don't know if I'd call it that. I just call it seeing some weird orbs in the house. That subsided substantially. And we haven't had that issue since, certainly not here in Wyoming and when we were in California. Yeah, weird. I mean, the end of the day, I can't even tell you if it was related to ATIP, other than other people in ATIP were having the same experiences around the same time. If someone came to me and definitively said it was ball lightning, okay, sure, maybe. Didn't look like any ball lightning I've ever seen before. It happened when I came into the program, and it stopped when I left. So, interesting coincidence there. And again, experienced by other people, witnessed by other people who were also in the program. I don't know what to make of it. I don't. I wanted to put it in the book because it was true. It happened. I knew that some people would probably read that, and it would probably be a detriment to my credibility. Oh, Lou's gone down the woo path. Look, I'm just telling you what happened. I can't tell you if they're related. Seems like they are, but I also could be wrong. Could be a totally natural explanation for it. I don't know of one, but it's possible. So, I'm not going to rule that out, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that everybody should, duck for cover and avoid orbs, because that was not my experience. That may have been other people's experience, but it was not mine.
Here's one from Francis Cacruz. 8811 says, what do you know about the Project Bluebeam, and what do you think of the disclosure of Dr. Stephen Greer?
I'm not overly familiar with Project Bluebeam. I know what it is superficially. As far as commenting on other individuals, as people have asked me about Bob Lazar and him, look, I don't talk about people I've never met. I have a personal challenge. I don't like people being deceived. And there are individuals out there, I'm not going to say specifically who, you can fill in the blanks, that have been caught red-handed defrauding people, basically claiming to do some sort of UFO summoning and then potentially, allegedly, paying somebody money to drop flares out of a plane. If that's true, then I want nothing to do with it. I don't like it. People right out of the gate, the moment I came out of the government, people who never even knew me were making accusations I was a disinformation agent. First of all, you don't even know what disinformation means. Okay. Secondly, I was counterintelligence, which is different than deception operations. That's just people in a vernacular trying to create a soup and saying, oh, well, he's one of those guys. Well, I'm not, and I wasn't. So, that's just ignorance by a lot of people. I don't speak ill of people. My mother always taught me if I have nothing kind to say, don't say it at all. So I'm not going to comment on Dr. Greer or anybody else. I don't do that. Now, if they want to do it, that's on them. That their mother obviously didn't teach them well. But as for me, that's kind of my golden rule. I prefer not to speak ill of people. I have nothing kind to say. I just simply won't say it at all.
All right, last couple of questions, and then I know you've got to jump on a plane. So here we go from DJS100. Who is going to dissect these implants and maybe prove to the world that they are not human-made? So have you learned anything about these implants? Has anyone been able to have...
Yeah, the problem right now, they've been locked up kind of within government channels. My hope is that we can get some academics and scientists on the outside to do some research on it, whether it's new stuff, new debris or objects that have been removed from somebody's body, from a civilian doctor, or the government decides to partner with some of the civilian doctors and say, look, this is what we have. This is what we've removed over the course of a year, 10 years, 40 years from individuals. I think that's very important, and I would support that endeavor 100%. I think that's where we need to go, quite frankly.
Sounds good. Well, here's one to end on. And of course, like we've said already, we're going to be doing this a little bit more frequently as we move forward. You're about to jump on your first live in-person speaking engagements. What are you trying to achieve going out on the road and meeting people and doing this talk? What's your goal, Lou?
Yeah, good question, Mark. The reality is I've done live events before. I've done several of them. When I have the time. And that's a way to engage with people and talk with people personally and answer their questions directly. What I hope to achieve here is twofold. A, increase awareness of the topic, so it's more palatable to have the conversation. It's no longer filled with stigma and unnecessary taboo. But two, start engaging the people for what they think we should do. right? I've been doing this now for 7 years, and we've had a game plan. I was very open with the American people what my game plan was, how we were going to do it, the 5 pillars of engagement to include legislative engagement, executive engagement. We had engagement with the media, international engagement, and finally public engagement. And I've been very open about that. I've told everybody from day one what my strategy was and how we were succeeding, and in some cases how we were failing. But now I think we've come to a point. I think now we have come to a point in the conversation where we need to open the tent and bring more people under the tent and start figuring out, what does the everyday person want from this topic? What does it mean to them? How would they like us to handle this? What does disclosure really look like, right? Is it full open kimono, or is it just the acknowledgement that, hey, we're not alone? Because this conversation has always involved people and affects, as I've always told people, affects each and every one of us equally and yet differently, depending on the way you were raised and your religious and cultural backgrounds, etc. And there are reasons to have a 3 or a 4-star general in this conversation as it relates to national security. But this is a much bigger conversation, isn't it? This is a conversation that affects us as a people from a psychological perspective, a sociological perspective, a theological perspective, a philosophical perspective, and I'm not sure that a general is necessarily qualified to lead the conversation in those regards. Maybe it's better that we have a priest or a rabbi or a mom as part of that conversation. Maybe we have, just regular citizens as part of that conversation, soccer moms and PTA and oil field workers and auto union workers. I mean, this is a conversation that affects everybody, so why not have everybody's opinion as part of the calculus? I think everybody's opinion matters, even the bad ones, even the misinformed ones. I think everybody's opinion matters, and I think we need to have a much bigger group discussion on, and that's why I think it's important for this next phase of what we're doing with disclosure is that we include everybody else as part of the conversation, because we might not have the right answer. It could be that your neighbor comes up with the right answer, and since no one talked to your neighbor, then nobody would have known. So when I go public, it's a way for the public to engage me. Not only can I engage the public, but the public can engage me and tell me for themselves, what do they expect out of this?
And what a note to round up on. Thank you so much, Lou. I know you are insanely busy, can appreciate it.
There we go. Another answer and question session from Lou. And if anyone else has watched many of the Lou broadcasts, it seems like we've got the same kind of rounds of questions to a degree, similar answers coming. One thing I do want to point out, though, is Lou is now talking from the scope of his book. But remember, he was out talking to the public for 2-3 years before that book came out. So there was a lot of things he had said back in the day that are different or a little bit more to the answers we're actually getting today. Andy?
Yeah, Lou going out speaking publicly again. Has he actually ever gone on somebody like Joe Rogan with
he's been on Rogan.
Joe Rogan? Yeah. He has gone on Rogan. I think many of us who've been involved in this subject for a long time, we hear what Lou says, and it's we've heard it all before, and from Lou we've heard it all before. But actually, I find with his book, it's better for those that are new into the subject, or finally finding their feet in the subject. I'm hoping what I hope is that if we do have these hearings in November, that it'll free up people to speak, more freely, and I hope that Lou will be able to speak a bit more about what he knows about. If he says it's like, what he's spoken about so far is 5% or 8% of what he already knows, then hopefully if we finally get these protections for whistleblowers, he'll be able to come out a bit more open, and not regurgitate. I don't want to use the word regurgitate. That's not exactly correct. But, I'm hoping he comes out a little bit with more information, personally.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one completely, Andy. And he had said that, The book only represents a small fraction of the information of what he knows, so can't wait to see where this is all going to go next. All right, talking about other things next, other stuff on our agenda. What we're talking about today is I've got a short, there's a 3-minute clip, there's a minute 25 clip. I mean, that I'm going to go ahead, I'll actually show the shorter one of Donald Trump, former president of the United States, on Joe Rogan, talking about, quote, the people coming from space, admitting that there's not just UFOs here, but there's entities within the craft. You know, this is much more than we've heard anything coming out of Kamala Harris. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, if he does get into office, if he's going to open Pandora's box and let the information out. On that note, let me go ahead and jump across. Oh, where is that at? Document. At desktop document. Here we go. Let's go ahead and play this clip from Joe Rogan. And actually, this one is set up for it. No, I guess not. Document. Here we go. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Let me take this and just close this down a little bit because we don't see the bottom of the tweet. And all right, let me get up the fair use text because I have to do it on this one. It's not our data to go ahead and not share without giving credit to Rogan. So, second, I want to move that video. There we go. Move this down a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
A lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes.
And I know you're interested in that.
Oh, very interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super top secret?
I can tell, you know.
Tell me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I want, right? But no. But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is, I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure, I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them as
I've had a couple in here. Commander David Fravor, I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very compelling with video evidence, radar evidence. Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but I interviewed jet pilots that were solid people. Perfect. I mean, great pilots, great everything. And they said, we saw things, sir, that were very strange. Like a round ball, but it wasn't a comet or a meteor. It was something. And it was going 4 times faster than an F-22, which is a very fast plane, you know.
Well, quick thing. Corporal says, presidential candidate says UFOs are not his thing. Yeah, he's not someone who goes out there and spends a lot of time on it. But what's interesting, though, Andy, is here he is. He's admitted that he's talked to military pilots. He's admitted what they've told him. He referred to them as the people coming from space to a degree. It sounds like he's at least been read into some of the things that are going on, and he's just kind of downplaying a little bit. What are your thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, I think the same. Actually, I'm going to say, you know, I'm English, so American politics doesn't directly affect me. Indirectly, it will do. I've started listening to this podcast. I was pleasantly surprised, you know, seeing somebody like former President Trump on the podcast like this. You see them as a person, not as the media person that they're portrayed or villainized as. You know, I know certain people in here probably don't like Trump a great deal. Actually, I found him quite. I've not finished listening to it. I want to listen to more because actually, you see the guy as a human. This isn't scripted. It's not these you know, where you've had the two, Harris and Trump, but being asked questions, and this is a genuine first person interview. I've not seen anything scripted. Actually, I will say personally, I quite like to see Trump. I quite like him. if Harris went on there, I might like some of the things she says. But actually, this is much better than putting them in a head-to-head where they both ask the same questions. Just let them talk as an individual, as a person. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm quite interested. I want to see, actually watch the rest of this interview myself.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, my friend. Time will tell. Fingers are crossed we're going to get something out of it, because we haven't gotten anything really from our government or the presidential executive office this entire round with the Biden administration. So fingers crossed, if things happen and the planets align and he gets into office, hopefully we'll have another good 4 years of disclosure ahead of us. One thing to look forward to. To those people who don't like Trump, well, even if he does get into office and we get some good disclosure, it's something to look forward to. Andy?
I'm certainly hoping, I think if he gets into office, he has a lot of axes to grind. There's, the bloke's had 2 potential assassination attempts against his life.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3 at the moment. If I was him, I would be pissed off at the CIA and the people who were tasked
FBI,
to protect me.
Yeah.
FBI, community. I think he's going to have potentially a lot of axes to grind this time. And this may be one of the ways he can get, I'm going to say it as revenge. I can't think of a better word, but one of his ways to actually to rein in these individuals, I'm hoping he actually does open up this time. If he gets a second term, he's done it once before. He now knows what he knows the score on how to be a president. And I think it's going to be a different ball game this time around if he gets in.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Andy. Syrup, you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, I know a lot of people believe Trump has been read in. I don't feel like he's been read in.
Not completely, no. I don't think anyone has ever been.
I think if he's been read into anything, he's been told it's our technology, blah, blah, blah. It's our shit, basically. But I do feel like when he's asked about the subject of UFOs, he seems interested, man. He doesn't downplay it like the other people do. And that's kind of important.
You mean like the president of the United States, Biden, when he was asked in one of his first press conferences and he said, go ask Barack?
Exactly, man. There's no downplaying. He's not trying to make people feel stupid or dumb for asking about it, which is important, man. It's a step forward, in my opinion.
And remember, disclosure is supposed to be bipartisan, but I have to say, where have all the Democrats? Yeah, we did have. Where are all the Democrats in the House of Representatives? It all seems like the Republicans are trying to bring it out, and even Republicans are battling against Republicans in bringing out the truth. It's a sad sight, to say the least.
But it is bipartisan, because the story we covered the other day showed that there are Democrats and Republicans who are working together against disclosure in the Congress.
Yeah. Now, we did get the legislation for the UAP Disclosure Act from Schumer, but Schumer never went out to the public or anyone and promoted it beyond saying, I support this. That's sad. If you're really behind something, Mike, don't you think he would be more vocal about it?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be shouting it from the rooftops, but he didn't do that.
No.
Which is suspicious.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, and Joanne calls it lip service.
Two years in a row, too, right?
But here last year, when it came up, it sailed through the Senate, approved right away. This year, when it got to the Senate, it got stalled, and there was pushback in the Senate. So it seems like there was more work coming ahead of time, coming in the Senate to go ahead and, if you want to call it, the workings behind the scenes, to make sure it wasn't even going to get passed in the Senate.
That's right.
Yeah.
It sucks, but this is where we're at.
Yeah, Brian Pemble says Schumer and or Rounds could have released a clean bill 9 months ago. Yeah, why does it have to go specifically as part of the UAP Disclosure Act? Well, one person I would blame for that, Mike, Mitch McConnell. If anyone prevent that from happening, it would have been Mitch.
Because he was the one who could. And it seems like obviously that's what was done. So we didn't get that standalone bill.
No, we didn't. We did not. All right. So next thing I want to bring up, kind of maybe about ancient civilizations, things that could have ties to disclosure. Archaeologists using LiDAR have discovered a sprawling metropolis in the mountains above the ancient Silk Road at 7,200 feet at an altitude comparable to Machu Picchu in the Peruvian Andes. Let's go ahead and bring up a LiDAR image of this. This is an amazing image of what they found. Can't wait for the scientists to go ahead and get me fix this again here really quick so I can bring this up so everyone can see it. It's an amazing site. Sorry, let me get this back here again. All right, come on. Let's get this out here. Open this up. It's an amazing picture. So we have another city at the site, and it's above the ancient Silk Road. And it looks like another city comparable to Machu Picchu. Can't wait to see what they're going to find. High, it's 7,200 feet. Yes, it's this one just came out today. Let's get back into here, see what else we can go ahead and dig up. I got a bunch of things for us to cover. All right, no. Nope, let's pass on that one. Let's go on this one. Okay, so we've talked about it on the other shows this week. Now, Mike, you had a story that we covered, I believe, yesterday with regards to what do you call
Congress
it?
and their upcoming hearing.
Yeah, and the hearing might be shut down. Not
Correct.
that it is, but the DOD is working with members, with committee leads in the House of Representatives to do what they can do to shut down the upcoming hearing that's been penciled in for the 13th. Do you want to fill us in on that, Mike?
Yeah.
Just a quick overview.
Oh, sure. No, you and I worked on that story together, and we found out that next week, and it's scheduled for next week, there's going to be a behind-the-closed-door meeting with high-ranking members of the Pentagon and certain members of Congress, like Mike Turner, Jim Himes, who intend on looking to cancel the upcoming hearing. They're citing national security as a main reason because there are several witnesses aside from the witness that Michael Schellenberger broke the story on recently, and had his own whistleblower that gave him a report that was also submitted to Congress on the unacknowledged special access program, Immaculate Constellation. And the hearings, if they move forward, are going to have one of those witnesses come forward and focus on exactly what this USAP has been doing, that the Pentagon has been keeping from the public and Congress the entire time. And they can't shut the witnesses up because of the whistleblower protection that are in place in legislation, but they're trying to shut the entire hearing down to do that. And the story that we broke and that we covered has to do with the hearings are not even officially penciled in on the congressional schedule for November yet. No. But before they are trying to get it canceled. It doesn't mean that they have, and it doesn't mean that they will, but that's what they're trying to do behind the scenes, like they did with the UAPDA 2 years in a row when they gutted it and prevented it from moving forward. They're trying to take the same approach now with the hearing on November 13th, which is disturbing. It's why we made that information public. So that's what's going on, and hopefully Nancy Mace is swearing that come hell or high water, she's not going to let that happen. I hope she's right. I hope they do move forward with this hearing, but right now it's up in the air.
Yeah.
And that's what the story that we covered and broke was about. Right. So hopefully it goes forward.
Fingers
but we don't
crossed
know
it happens, and if it doesn't, you heard it here first. You heard it from our tweet on Twitter first, Mike.
And we covered it here on the show as well. Yeah. You heard it from us first. Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Fingers crossed it does happen. Now, moving on to our next story, Mike. Believe it or not, get this picture up here. I have to get this figured out where I'm at exactly here. Let's do this. You've heard of the BRICS before, right, Mike?
Yes.
BRICS is the new currency. It's a new organization put together for trading petroleum and international goods, not on the U.S. dollar, but in their own local currencies. It has Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are all involved in BRICS at this point. And believe it or not, I've got the headlines up here, that they're claiming as part of the recent BRICS conference, that actually this goes back to 2023, actually. Sorry about this. I just want to be clear on it. I haven't heard this one before. That the U.S. uses the UFO PSYOP to hide crimes and advance a military agenda. So the BRICS organization is saying that the United States can be seen, there can be seen as evidence that UFOs are a PSYOP operated by the U.S. government to hide its crimes and advance its military agendas. With the distracted, terrified population, it's easier to ignore the relevance of episodes like Nord Stream in Ohio, as well as generate incentives for the NATO war machine. Indeed, if they really exist, the quote-unquote aliens do not seem to be the actual threat to the world today. Once again, it's the U.S. that promotes destabilization and panic to defend its egotistic interests. How about that? I had no idea that they had that statement out there. I know this just hit my Twitter feed a couple days ago, but what are your thoughts on that one, Andy?
Yeah, BRICS. From what I've heard, it's more about it's not akin to what NATO would be.
No, this is just a monetary collection of countries trying to go ahead and get rid of the petrodollar.
And I think what we can get out of each of the other members out of the union, I'm not sure that a lot of it's not a politically ideological grouping. It is a grouping of the means really than anything else.
Yeah.
So
that they rise.
Yeah. I'm kind of It's a lot of flannel what they're talking about.
Yeah, I hear you, my friend. It's just it took me kind of shockingly to see that they're trying to blame UFOs. Well, it sounds like the debunkers, honestly. But then again, we're not working with those countries to try and figure this out. We're working with other countries to try and get there. On our next clip we have coming up, let me go ahead and get this up here so I can go ahead and get it ready. In this next clip, coming to us from Julian Dory, podcast number 245 with Daniel Sheehan. In this clip, the constitutional attorney, known as Daniel Sheehan, and president of the New Paradigm Institute, delves into the pressing issue of UAP disclosure. Danny is going to emphasize the profound importance of transparency regarding the UFO UAP for the benefit of humanity. It's taking the positive approach. So let's bring up this clip here and let's see where it takes us. All right, let's go ahead and play this clip. Put on the fair use text. We'll pause it as we're watching it. Here we go.
We have to find some issue that the people feel strongly enough about so that they rise up, and that they say that we're not going to stand for this anymore, and that they have, and that's the issue here with the UFO issue. We believe that there's an issue that the people suspect that this is such profound importance for the whole human family, that all across the political spectrum, people are saying, look, wait a second now.
Yeah, but I have to say really quick, though, if you remember earlier this year, Andy, there was some movement by the Paradigm Institute to go ahead and have a couple different gatherings of people to come together to show their support in a grassroots protesting kind of way. I believe they were protesting Representative Mike Turner and also celebrating the New Paradigm Institute. Unfortunately, both of those gatherings kind of fell flat. So they're trying. Here, let's watch some more.
Are you telling us that you're in possession of an extraterrestrial, non-human origin spacecraft in the bodies of extraterrestrial beings that are non-human beings piloting these spacecraft, and you're just keeping this a secret from us?
Crazy.
Well, because you think somehow we're not mature enough to know about this? What's going on here? You know, if we can get people to follow up on what's going on here, we may have an issue here that is broad-based enough for people to feel strongly enough about it to say, this is an outrage.
Yeah.
That you're keeping this information from us. And when you keep saying, oh, there's going to be this catastrophic event, you know, if we tell you about this, you know, you say, like what? And they keep saying, we can't tell you, you know, because, you know, it's national security.
It's like
what's your thought on that, Andy? Do you think it's so bad, you know, that they can't tell us what could happen if they told us the truth? You know, Lou Elizondo says the American people can handle the truth. For that matter, I'll say humanity can handle the truth. Can you handle the truth, Andy?
I hope so. I think it's more. I think it's the fact that they've been holding this subject, the secret, for so long now. You know, since 1940s, late 1940s. I think they don't know how to release any information. I think it's just become so embedded in their way of thinking that there's no ulterior, there's no ultimate disclosure. They can't say that. In 1947, when we said about Roswell, we did present you with a pile of junk that was not the original of what we found. I think it's a lot of it's to do with saving face. I think I really do.
Yeah, and honestly, there's an old movie there was an old Twilight Zone skit called "To Serve Man," right?
Right.
Which at the end of the video, they come out and say, "No, it's a cookbook." Well, if that is honestly the truth, I'd like to know the best way to prepare us, and more importantly, what do they create for side dishes, Mike?
Question, Thomas. But I hear this all the time. People say, can you handle the truth? And everyone makes a point about that. But what's the reality to that? Let's say it did get publicly announced that we're not alone on this earth and there's a far advanced civilization here with us. What exactly are you going to do? Are you going to what? Not go to work, not pay your bills, stop eating? I don't see that. I think people would have no choice but to accept and deal with the truth, because really, what else are you going to do? You can't stop it, can't change it. So people would realize that pretty quickly. I don't think that's as big of an issue or reason to prevent the truth from coming out. Oh, people won't handle it. Yes, they will. We've handled a lot of things, from natural disasters to pandemics and personal death and loss. People are people. This realization of us not being alone here, I don't think it would stop the world from spinning. Do you, Thomas?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all, Mike. I think it's something that the world can handle the truth. Yeah, there may be a bunch of media coverage and everything. Let's say they bring it on a Friday. I think by Monday, everyone's going to be going to work and kind of forgetting about it, maybe talking about over the water cooler or something to that extent. But it's nothing that's going to, halt the world to a grinding halt, or bring the world to a grinding halt.
No, it's not. And it's also going to, one of the things it would probably do is raise the same question that you have been saying here on the show for many years now. Not a question of who they are or where they come from. What the hell are they doing here with us?
Bingo. That is the $1 million question, Mike. What are they doing
It is. And for the first time, I guarantee you, we would finally be hearing mainstream media asking that exact same question.
Yeah. Exactly. Now we keep on talking about Roswell. We hear Lou talked about Roswell going ahead and saying it happened, that it was actually one or two, a crash that happened, craft split in two. There was actually two crashes that happened, one that we got to, the other ones the aliens got to when they got away, for that particular matter. Here we've got a clip coming from Major Jesse Marcel, who came forward just before his death to state that Roswell was a crashed non-human vehicle, which was covered up back in 1947. On that note, let me go ahead and bring this up. I got to figure out where this all went. Let's go ahead and make sure I got the document. Oh, I want to get this here. Give me a second to... There we go. Bring this down a little bit. Should be good. Let's go ahead and play this, and this way I can make sure video full. I can step away for a second. Let me just get this up here. Let's go ahead and play this. Almost there, folks. Sorry, let me get back into here really quick so I can move it back and forth. Sorry, I know it's overly complex, but welcome to my life. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this down for rendering speed. Let's go ahead and play this and see where it takes us. This one goes on for about 3 minutes. Here we go, folks. Again, coming to us from a Roswell whistleblower. Gotta love whistleblowers.
The materials that we picked up weighed anything. Looked like it was weightless. You couldn't feel that you had anything in your hands. I found one piece of metal, what looked like metal anyway. It was not flexible, but it was as thin as a foil of a pack of cigarettes. It was that thin. One of my boys told me, he said, there's something unusual here. He said, I tried to make a dent in this metal. He says, you can't bend it. You can't make a mark on it. He says, I took a sledgehammer and whammed it. I put it on the ground and whammed it. The sledgehammer bounced off of it. He told me not to say anything. He says, I'll handle it from now on. And that's exactly what he did. When he came out, he said, he told the press that was there, he said, that was nothing but a weather balloon, crashed weather balloon. It was definitely not a weather balloon. And it was an aircraft. So what it could have been, I wouldn't know. I still don't know.
They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted me they wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed, told the newspapers, the newsmen, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, which we both knew differently. We left Roswell perhaps around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, it's flat. It is very difficult. In fact, with just verbal directions, we never would have found it. We had to follow the rancher out there. The following morning, we went out to the site where the crash was. And what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in a wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because there's such small fragments that we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a 1.5 to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't dent it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was. It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of. Because being an intelligence officer, I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and air travel. This is nothing like that. It could not be. It could not have been.
There we go. Great conversation. Great historical video. What are your thoughts, Mike? Or not? Mike's got a bunch of things he's juggling with on the show today, so he may have stepped away from it. Yeah, really interesting. It's great to hear.
I was just trying to hit the mute button because I was on mute while the video was playing. Sorry about the delay. No, Jesse Marcel is a very interesting character, especially coming back from Roswell. And he had a lot of things to say that at the time was not something that would be easily said publicly from someone in the military. they didn't have the same protections back then like they do today. And we covered on the show, if you remember, that back in the 40s and 50s, they threatened members of the military from speaking about this with jail and loss of pension. And they just really put the screws to them to not breathe a word about anything that they knew from their time in the military about Roswell. So luckily it's changed from then to now, but it was interesting to hear Jesse Marcel coming in and speaking about this back then. He's a patriot, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. Someone who has really been out there talking about this particular situation for a long time, and it was great to have him to be able to bring that information forward before he passed.
Absolutely. Because this is what helped to allow people to know more about this topic and what the government has been hiding and covering up the whole time. People like that were able to provide the information that the public was not really supposed to have as far as the government was concerned. So, yeah, he's a pioneer in trying to bring the truth out on disclosure from way back when.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we do have another clip here to play, Mike, of Colonel Karl Nell, retired, talking at Disclosure Day. We've got a 7-minute clip to go ahead and play here on this one. Let's go ahead and bring it up and enjoy and hear what Karl Nell has to say about disclosure. Let me go ahead and bring that up.
Always good to hear from Colonel Nell. He always has something to say.
Oh, good stuff to usually say. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Let's go ahead and play it. Let's take down the chat and let's enjoy this video and see what Karl Nell has to say. Here we go. Where's that at? Let's just play it.
Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity on this planet. This interaction is ongoing and it's not new. And there is zero doubt. But you already knew that. So how do we go about convincing other people that this is the case? Particularly people that aren't necessarily privy to all the information that some of us may otherwise be. And so there's three principal lines of effort, three principal sources of data. There's essentially the first principles argument, which basically says, counter to common belief, that life is common in the universe. How do we know life should be common in the universe? There's 20 billion sun-like stars in the universe. The sun is a population 1 star. There are planets like this, there's stars like the sun that are 5 billion years older than the sun. That's plenty of time for other civilizations to evolve on these other planets. There's recent scholarship that says that life evolved on Earth in the Hadean era. The Hadean era was before the crust even cooled. There's recent scholarship that says that microbes have been found in terrestrial rock that have dated to 2 billion years ago, essentially in stasis. So life evolved here very quickly. There are many, many planets like the sun, and there are many, many planets that are much older than the sun. People that would argue that life is uncommon have to justify that proposition more than anyone would have to justify the fact that life evolves very quickly. The second point is faster than light travel. Everybody says faster than light travel is not possible. This is false. Miguel Alcubierre, a postgraduate student at the University of Mexico in 1994, solved Einstein's equations for an effective faster than light mechanism. NASA has investigated this. Everyone accepts his solution as valid. His solution requires negative energy. In 1960, quantum physics demonstrated or predicted the reality of negative energy. In the 90s, the Casimir effect was demonstrated in the laboratory. The Casimir effect demonstrates negative energy. The expansion of the universe, which is caused by dark energy, is negative energy. So we have a solution to Einstein's equations that allow effective faster than light travel. We've got the existence of negative energy proven. This isn't an engineering solution. This isn't a means where we can go and do this, but theoretically it's possible. And this is not argued by modern scholarship. So from a first principles, life is more than likely common, and we know that Einstein's equations support effective faster than light travel. That's the first principles argument. The second is the testimonial. Perhaps there are people out there that may know more than some of us might know. including people that have been in the intelligence community, such as myself. So we can look at several presidents, Barack Obama, President Trump. They both said UAP are real. We can look at, as was mentioned earlier, Chris Mellon, Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Lord of the Fleet, Lord Hill Norton, a chief of the defense staff in the United Kingdom in past years, have said UFOs are real. We can look at the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma in the United Kingdom again, that have said UFOs are real. We can look at the chief of the Canadian Defense Ministry, Paul Hellyer, who have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Haim Eshed, who is the Israelis' father of their space program, who has said non-human intelligence is real. All these people and more would be in a position to know. Then we can look at the evidence, the data. You've seen the videos, the Fluor video, the gimbal, the go fast. A lot of people probably don't know Gordon Cooper, one of America's 7 Mercury astronauts, chased UFOs over West Germany in 1951. He testified to that fact before the United Nations in 1978, analogous to the David Fravor Tic Tac incident. We can look at the UFO incursions over the Northern Tier ballistic missile early warning sites in the 70s and the document-supported and testimony-supported readiness status change of our ICBMs in the 60s at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where many missiles were taken offline by a UFO. The analogous thing happened in the Soviet Union contemporaneously. In their case, the missiles were brought online. There's an agreement between the United
I'm sorry, I have to pause on this one. That is just freaking hilarious. It just shows the difference of the methodology. Here in the U.S., we're going to tell you, yeah, we can go ahead and shut off your missiles at any time. And the Russians were saying we can launch your missiles, and which will cause your country to be vaporized in a nuclear war. Andy?
Yeah, did they not switch the nukes on at Minot a couple of years before the Malmstrom incident?
No, they never initiated a launch sequence, which is basically what happened with the Russians. A countdown sequence was started. Like the people had gone and turned the switches and actually started the countdown before they're going to go up.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the way, where that happened in the former Soviet Union, that's in Ukraine. There we go.
United States, and at the time the Soviet Union, intending to reduce the threat of nuclear war, that talks about each party notifying the other if UFOs are impinging on their warfighting systems, because this was recognized as a fact. There's documentary evidence, the Twining memo from 1947. General Nathan Twining, future Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, wrote a memorandum that said the UFOs are most likely extraterrestrial.
All right. We did get a correction. You may be right. My note, the missiles were turned on. So I've got to do research into that one, Andy. Clearly, I was wrong. I'll admit it.
There's official Australian documents declassified on the National Archives of Australia from 1971 from their defense attaché that made a formal assessment of the United States' interest in UFOs, the reality of that, and the fact that the U.S. was investigating anti-gravity programs in concert with looking into UFOs, a conclusion that would make no sense unless the reality of this topic was demonstrated. So some people say, well, if this is real, why don't they fly over the White House or something? Well, in 1952, UFOs flew over Washington, D.C. over 2 weekends. There were radar visual sightings, there were air-to-air intercepts, and it created the largest press conference since World War II up to that time. People say, well, why don't they just land during the middle of the day? Well, that happened in 1994 at the Ariel School in Rura, Zimbabwe, where UFOs presented themselves with beings and occupants on the ground, witnessed by numerous children. The exact same incident happened in 1966 in West Hall, Australia. The people that witnessed those events are still alive, and they continue to state the assertion of that being a factual occurrence. So these things taken together, along with much other evidence, suggest that this is absolutely true. And I'm speaking to you today to tell you that there is zero doubt this is absolutely true. I know this personally. So the way to solve this problem is to motivate the grassroots. Political activism is the solution to restoring proper oversight, developing a process for responsible disclosure, and advancing society through the efforts of that process. So I salute you for your participation in this event. Again, I thank New Paradigm Institute. I'm humbled to be able to address you and participate with you in this historic occasion, and I wish you the best. God bless.
Okay, there we go. Interesting. Always, sorry, I was doing some research on Minot Air Force Base, and there's conflicting information out there with regarding to that. It's always great to hear Karl Nell. It's a shame that he didn't go ahead and get the opportunity to go ahead and lead ARO like we many had hoped in the day. So hopefully the new director we have in right now, James Lakowski, is going to turn out good. Fingers crossed on that one. Let's go ahead and get back to Thomas Away. All right, let's see what I can find next for us to go ahead and
like the sun.
Oh, sorry, turn that one off. Yeah, I've just got a bunch of tweets that I've piled up. Some of the things that I've started picking up on are images of UFOs that have been popping up in the National Archives. These are images that would have been obtained by someone like who was it? Project Blue Book and such. So let me go ahead and bring some of these up. We'll see if we can recognize some of them. I'll bring them up one at a time as we're talking about this. I got a bunch of scroll through, and it looks like I'm literally going to have to, oh God, go ahead and find a way to make this media work so everybody can enjoy it. Let's get to the document. Here we go. Here's the first one. Let me scroll it down a little bit in size. The first one is coming from the AFSC, the Foreign Technology Division. Not saying where it is, but here you can see you've got, actually you can't all see that. Let me make it where I can, sure everybody can see it. Let me bring this down here so I can do this a little bit easier. Here we go. So the first one we've got here looks like someone in their backyard, maybe some palm trees. We've got some power lines going across. You've got, interesting. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe there's lights. Here we go. It could be lights, and this could be stars potentially, or just a different exposure of the film, the way it looks. There's an object clearly defined. You can see in it. Looks like a defined saucer shape. Your thoughts, Andy, on this one? Here's the overall,
yeah, it certainly looks
here's
like
the overall picture we've got.
Lights, don't it?
And then zooming in, we've got that. Now this this could be something like they call Pepper's Ghost, where it was taken from inside a room. You put those lights in arrangement going behind you. You record out the window, and it picks up the object that's reflecting in the glass behind you. It could be that, but it could be potentially lights. You know, one way to tell is, are the actual lights affected in variance or brightness due to the fog? And that answer is a yes, because you're seeing, but that's potentially how it could all be prepared. So again, any picture you're going to see is going to potentially look good. It's looking at, we don't have the stories of the providence that goes behind it, but at least I zoomed in. If you change the lighting, it looks like a saucer. Okay. Oh, can I do this here? Tools.
Yes, some of the lights on the right look a little bit out of alignment to me.
Let's go ahead
you've got 1, 2, 3,
deal
4.
with
You've got about 5 lights.
Contrast. No, there's a contrast going across. If I lower the contrast a little bit, and exposure isn't doing anything. Yeah, you can still see there's kind of a, you can probably see it better here than people might be able to see it. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of shape. It's not just lights, but there's a definite shape you can see from the lights left side of the graph. Interesting. Download. They're all JPEG 2 over.
You've also got the trees in the foreground and potentially a power cable that's there that could give you a depth.
Yeah, it does. Right now, this one, I'm not sure.
Tell the depth of the object, if it is an object.
Exactly. And let me go ahead and shut this one down. And I'll just go to the next one. And we actually have another one here that looks decent. This one just looks like a traditional saucer. But then again, just want to point it out that even though, come on, it looks like a traditional saucer, there's nothing occluding its view. So, is it a saucer? Is it not a saucer? Is it on the right angle? Yeah, we've heard that saucers do like to go on a tilt when they're moving. Not sure what the heck this in the back would be. Oh, you know what that is? No, that's the back of the craft. That is the back of the craft.
I'm going to say, out of the two pictures, this is not the one I would consider being genuine personally.
Right.
It doesn't. You've got a couple of what look like branches. To me, it doesn't look in proportion to the branches. The previous picture you showed looks as though it's actually beyond the tree line. This actually looks so it's something a lot sort of smaller and closer. I'm no expert.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah,
which means if that was any far distance away, that would be freaking huge. So again, take it for what it's worth. It's the images that are popping up in the National Archives. I think I've seen.
But there's something they use in filmmaking called forced perspective. They used it in Star Wars. It was used in Lord of the Rings, where if you take two objects and you sit somebody the same height, one closer to the camera and one further away, it would appear that the one that's closer to the camera is larger than the one that's far away, I believe. It could be the other way around, but it's difficult to gauge whether they, it's something large that's close to the camera or large that's further away.
Yeah.
Well, that's close to the camera.
Yeah, true. We got another one here, Andy. This one, again, no provenance as far as where they're from. This is, I think, group 58. This is from a post over on Reddit. Again, coming from the Foreign Technologies Division, AFSC. No location, again, just your traditional, again, saucer shape. This one going...
Again, is it something that's small, that's close to the camera?
Nothing.
Whereas the house, obviously,
you've got the tree by the house, right? You can see that, here's a better view of the house. This is okay, it's a fence. It's a fence in a backyard. It's being shot over the neighbor's fence. You've got the house in the background. So you've got the fence here. Almost a straight line going across, occluding it. You've got the house that's up here. Otherwise, the person would have to be on the grass pointing it up, and that's what it doesn't look like. That's it. So you've got a person potentially there, a fence maybe showing it up, but it's just hard to tell. But you know what? Here's another shot. So there is the top of that fence, Andy.
Yeah.
So fence shooting upward, and there's a pretty tall tree next to it. I judge just by the overall branches in the structure and how it goes up. Chromosome Cowboy. You raised your hand. All right.
Sorry, got overexcited. Isn't the tree out of focus on the left-hand one?
What was it again?
Isn't the tree out of focus on the left-hand one and in focus on the right? And does that affect the UFO? If that makes sense?
They're both out of focus. One's more out of focus than the other.
Yeah, I didn't know whether that... Whether what the focus was like of the UFO compared.
Focus of the UFO. Let's see. The first one. And I'm going to stay here. Second one's in focus. It's more in focus. Here it's more blurred.
Like the tree.
Right. In here, this one's more in focus.
Which is like the tree, isn't it?
Yeah. call me stupid, but doesn't this seem to have that typical light-colored outline around it? I can kind of see it right in here.
Yeah, could well be, yeah.
And it seems like almost it goes to a lighter color right up on the edge here. Maybe not. Let's just zoom in, and it's about as much as I can go in the surrounding area. Yeah, there's almost like a slight halo that goes. Yeah, I just have to defocus my eyes. A slight, there, you can see a little bit better there maybe. That could be real. Now, you're talking about the tree focus. The tree is out of focus here in the distance. So the house is, we're not seeing, there's the house is out of focus, the tree, everything here. But it's also, everything's much more out of focus, including the house and everything else that's around it in this one as well.
So it could just be the exposure. Something.
Right.
Not.
Yeah, and camera operator, shit, I'm taking a picture of a UFO. I can't screw this up.
Oh, we had to wind it up and all sorts of things back then.
Yeah.
Take the picnic out the top of the case first.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead and shut that one down. Oh, let's see. I've grabbed a bunch of these throughout the week. All right, we've seen those two. I got another one here. All right, this one was cool. I'm not sure if Mike sent me this one. He might have. Yeah, it is. National Archives, a picture of a pyramid UFO. So let me go ahead and bring this one up so we can take a look at it. Let me set all my settings here. Let's go ahead and bring this one up so we can take a look. So we've got something, someone's house. Whatever's in the background. And then you've got something would be equivalent to, it's hard to tell if it's a pyramid or if it's an 8-sided object. Meaning this could potentially be the bottom of the object, and then you've got it going up, and this is one of the sides. Potentially you would have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, but it just feels really, perspective feels off, unless it's more rounded. It's rounded on the bottom, which could make sense, and it's rounded on the top. It's more like a top, but interesting thing about it is the big halo around it. Now, Andy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, kind of reminds me more like the object that was seen in the Cash Landrum incident. That was
diamond shape. Yeah, there you go.
Shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be a whole bunch of faceted edges going along with it.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
one of those
things.
things.
This is genuine or anything. So yeah. But it sort of slightly resembled that.
Right. All right. Let's go ahead from here. Oh, what else? No, we've got. That's one we've seen before. This is from when? October 22nd. Oh, we've got Cosmos. We've got that one. No nuclear blasts redone. Actually, am I going in the wrong way? It should be 23rd. All right, so this one's interesting. 190 miles. It's supposed to be west of Catalina Island on the ocean floor and 13 miles long. All right. Let's see if it can. Actually, I need a Chrome browser for this one. Give me a second. Worst case, I can always go to Google Earth Maps, not showing satellite.
I don't know, but I found
I got it. I got it. So this is in the quest for trying to figure out where those UFO bases are. And this is an interesting plot of underwater oceanography to go ahead and understand what's going on in the bottom of the ocean. First thing I want to point out to everybody before we get to it, Andy, can you go ahead and see these lines? It looks like a line going down here and a line coming down here, and some of it you've got some perfect straight lines going along with it. Sometimes
I'm watching you on. Yeah, I'm watching you on another window, so you're a couple of seconds.
Gotcha.
I certainly see the rectangular image
right.
You might have been showing about half a second ago.
You've got a repeating pattern that's going over a long distance in some of this stuff, and it's horizontal and vertical. But you can see in some areas we're getting better resolution. In other areas, like I would say this is a little bit more resolution going along in this pass, and you have this pass here coming back, and things are a lot more muddy. You've got something that's also similar here, but it's also very muddy, meaning there's not a lot of detail to what we're looking at. Now, if we go for there, we can see all the vertical lines. If you go over into the same section over here, can you see how there's multiple like black lines going along and parallel with each other? A lot of times what people need to realize is when you're going ahead and looking at anything on the bottom of the ocean, this entire image of everything that you're seeing is put together by strips of data. Basically, there's a boat that's going back and forth over multiple passes, going ahead and creating the data, and then it's constructed into the imagery that we're seeing. Kind of like down in here, you're getting a lot better detail. You know, if you're looking at objects, you can see that's more circular shape. It looks very cool. Got a ridge going around it and everything. And there's good detail, but you get up into here and some of the data, it just looks like it's blurry and it's missing. Now, there are some areas where it's obvious, where you can just see the lines where it's been cut off, and you have to wonder, why are they hiding everything in this particular area? Now, could it be something? Well, can I do 3D? I can't do 3D on this. Get to.
Yeah, it's difficult where they mesh. This may be a where they've not been able to completely mesh the multiple images. You know, if you've ever tried to do a 3D image of a photograph, sometimes if you use, you know, it's not AI I would have used, but back in the day you would have had programs to mesh multiple images together, and sometimes they don't sit together.
Shit.
So it might not be a deliberate, hiding of whatever's going on.
All right.
The fact is it's kind of like with NASA. We've only got one source for all of this information.
Right.
So whatever they tell us is happening.
Right.
You know, you have to believe them, but they may not be giving you the full truth.
Now, one thing you've got there, in addition to this little black area that they've gone and selected, definitely it looks like it's a grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes along. And you can see it's stepped kind of going up, which could be just from the imaging that was done, or it could be something else. But now, more interesting, if you come a little bit to the north of it and you look at that, there you've got something with a similar grid pattern going in a similar lines, except this is a bit more defined, and you've got a good ridge going on this side, another ridge coming down. Heck, this could almost look like the front of a building with a bunch of, windows that are there potentially. So it's just, if there's area where you're looking for, it's just a matter of going to it. Now you get up over into here and you're seeing some more of those directed lines again. Some of the stuff that you're getting of the actual patterns that you're seeing in the seafloor that are going back and forth, it's from the imaging technology and the way the data is actually created. Now, if I were to go to, all my places are gone. All right. Let's zoom in out of there really quick. Let's go down to my favorite place off of Isle de Cedros. And you can now see in this particular area, you've got islands that are there, right? And then you've got a whole bunch of area where all the imaging is just completely missing, right? You can see out the deep ocean. They've got all that stuff going on. And again, you know what you're seeing here? You're seeing those same kind of pattern. Can you see that, Andy? And it almost looks like it's like sections of data that were all put together. Now, but if you get over to this section over in here and you look at this, this is different. And this is really close to Isle Guadalupe. It's closer to Baja. It's a little bit south of Baja. But measuring it, I believe if I were to go ahead and measure this, and I want to go to line, and I want to go miles, and I want to measure from here going across to here, I bring it up. It's going in miles, half a mile across.
I find it interesting that you've got
0.57. It's over a half a mile across.
Taken of areas around the islands. Got images that are around the islands, which potentially should be shallower than the depths. Yet the images are always blurred out. That strikes to me as a little bit of unusual. If there's nothing to hide, why are they not?
Right. You take this one structure, you go all the way down in a straight line, that's 16 miles. So these things are not small. It's just amazing things. There's a lot of stuff going on down in the oceans, but that was just one of the things I want to bring up. People are out there talking about stuff near Isle of Guadalupe. There's Isle of Guadalupe. You go towards the ocean, and oh yeah, I didn't show you this pattern up in here. You can see there's another one going back and forth. Now, it's not like the usual lines that you get when you're actually going and stitching stuff together. Like we've seen like potentially all these lines right up in here. This, you can actually see structure that's going on through the interference of the noise pattern. So whatever this is, often do you see giant structures going ahead and coming to a 90-degree intersection? Doesn't seem quite natural.
It's not just 90-degree intersections, it's dead straight lines. This may well be absolutely nothing. The fact that there are images that are missing adds to the confusion over whether this is a natural phenomenon or it's something that's potentially manufactured.
Right. And the way I
would love to see the information that's scrubbed out.
I've known about this for a long time because when I heard about the Tic Tac where it happened, I went and I've been searching the world's oceans ever since. And I have not found anything like this. And I challenge anybody out there. Go ahead and find something like this. If you can do it, frickin' share it. Because I've scoured Google Earth, and every couple of years you get an upgrade to the data set, and then it comes out. Let's go ahead and look for stuff again, and I found some amazing things on the ocean floor. But yes, it's in proximity to Guadalupe Island.
And Kelly in chat said pipelines with a question mark. Well, if it is pipelines, then there shouldn't be any reason for the information that's missing in the images.
How many pipes do we have that are almost 0.6 miles across?
Yeah. I think one of the pipelines actually is from the United Kingdom to France. Yeah. It was called Pluto.
Right.
Pipeline under the ocean, which is how we supplied the Red Bull Express American Army with all the fuel when they went across Europe. And that's not a particularly large pipeline.
No,
certainly
it's not.
One of the longest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to see the information that's actually missing from these images.
Yeah, I'd love to, because it's all missing all up in here, and also in the Sea of Cortez. There's nothing in here as well. And there's been a lot of talk with regards to having craft being seen in the Sea of Cortez as well. But sadly, all of that It's all freaking missing. And I wish it wasn't. All right, so let's go back to, actually, you know what? We've gone over. You get me talking about the oceans, and I'll forget about everything, Andy.
You know what, Thomas? Like we talked about earlier, I think we should have Kevin come back on and talk exactly about this.
Well, let's have a call with them before then, and let's see what he thinks about it.
He actually was there, and I told you, so he'd have a lot to say about this. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. I could have sworn I had another UFO picture, but either way, we'll deal with all that stuff on a different day. Wow, what a great show, Mike. Didn't realize, time flies when you're having fun. Well, thank everybody for coming out here, Disclosure, tonight. We've had over, how many people watched the show so far? 1,200 people have stopped by and watched the show. We have 200 watching right now. If you've had a good time so far, do us a favor, folks. Give us a thumbs up. We've got 94 likes and 200 people watching. If you've had a good one, man, or ma'am, give us a thumbs up. And more importantly, if you haven't, give us a thumbs down. And I think I know, I've seen someone in the chat, Mike, who could give us a thumbs down.
Oh, well, our mods should be able to take care of that. Yeah, they got removed. Andy? Right, Andy?
They got removed, yes.
Oh, you took out Tupa?
I did. I took Tupa out. Why not?
Okay. All right.
Unless you want me to... if you want to reinstate
it was
them.
wanting us to answer stupid questions again.
Yeah,
there's a reason why the content they keep on taking from our shows is getting taken down on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Copyright infringement.
Yeah, like right there.
Oh, you're slapping them, are you, Thomas? Good.
Oh, why do you think they blocked me? They want to take the content and they use it. They don't want to do it. But either way, it's been a fun Saturday, everybody. Hopefully you've had a good time hanging out. If you haven't subscribed yet, do us a favor, give us a subscribe. I'd love to have you here on a regular basis. And is there anything anyone in the back, Mike, Andy, that we haven't talked about today? Oh, Laura.
We're good. It was fun. A lot of fun. Good conversation.
Okay. Laura's had stuff for a couple days she's wanted to cover. We could do it.
Really, if you want, I can really quick. Yeah, I'll do a real fast summary. It relates to remote viewers and this recent Rogan interview with Trump. Back in 2009, Cliff High has that computer program, WebBot, where he looks at language that's used throughout the world, and he, with the theory that we're psychic and it comes through with our language. And he started seeing indicators of an interview with Rogan with a particular president that was going to be very important, like a temporal marker for future events. So he was watching it and he kept wondering, who's this president going to be? And he knows the people from Farsight are crypto viewers. At the time, they were called crypto viewers. He knows Dick Elgar and some of the folks there. So more recently, I believe it was 2020, he actually had them remote view. He called it Joe Rogan interview. What is the event that changes the course of humanity during this period? So they looked at it, and one of the remote viewers, Dick, actually drew a picture with Rogan sitting down with Donald Trump, had some, he said it's going to be a long interview. He thought he was going to go over different topics. UFOs was one of them that came up. And anyway, they called it also a pivotal point in human history when after this takes place, when you see this, look for more, they call it sci-fi world, visibility of the emergence of this UFO information, sharing with the public. So remote viewers were pretty excited to see this event happen. That's all.
Awesome. It sounds like things are aligning. We'll see where it goes. And if that's a marker, that means other things that they've been looking into may be falling into place. It's all about viewing what the possibility is. And on that note, if I find that, yeah, I did. Get that up here. I want to go ahead and thank our audience for coming out tonight. Holy cow, what a great show, what a great audience. Most importantly, I want to start off thanking the people who gave us some super chats to Disclosure tonight. Remember, every dollar we get goes back into our production. If you like what you see, having a good time, we appreciate it. Who gave us some super chats tonight? Let's thank Brian Pemble, Wishing Mike, and I'm sure if Mike heard this one before, Thomas, please share this with Mike for his AARP membership. Remember, it was Mike's birthday today, so happy birthday again, Mike. All right.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everybody, for joining us and hanging out on today's show for my birthday.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it. And it was fun. Good conversation, a lot of good content. So I'm glad we all had a chance to spend this time together.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Nothing like hanging out with your friends.
That's right.
All right.
That's what makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and thank Faisal for his super chat for $9.99 and Wildcat Mahone 888. Thank you very much to everybody. And the happy birthday wishes. Sorry I didn't put them up earlier, Mike, are just pouring in from the audience right now. Everyone is
That's
saying...
fine. We're good.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to get it there in auto. So, yeah, thank you very much. Happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday to Mike times 3. Happy birthday, cakes, and happy birthday, Mike. Everyone, just sending some love your way. Happy birthday. There you go. Is Mike going to be going? Probably not. Let's leave that for another show. Okay, on that note, I also want to go ahead and thank the people in the chat who have been out here tonight. I appreciate our audience, especially those who participate in our chat. Ann Joanne, Andy W., April R. Coleman, Country Carpenter, Corporal Abe 311B. Who's actually on the Nimitz, it sounds like. Digger Dog, Eli McGinnis, Heiser's been here. Ian Watts, Invisible Tracker, Jason Brown, J-Cat, Kelly Barot, and those piercing blue eyes. King Bull's been here. Mish, Peggy and her South Florida friends. Pete Liebel, Roland Gibbs, Tetz, Tony D, True Seeker, Two Heads 666, Wildcat Mahone, and someone new in the chat today, Women on Mars. Wow, what a great opportunity to hang out with so many good friends in the audience today. And also, I want to thank our panel in the back for the people who have thrown up some questions during today's show. Let me change this over. Turn that down as well. There we go. I also want to go ahead and thank Andy W. Thank you for the conversation today.
My pleasure, Thomas. I hope people have found it interesting and not too boring. Yeah, it's been a great day and a great show. So yeah, have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, sir. And to everybody, have a great week. Absolutely. Also want to go ahead and thank Chromosome Cowboy. Thanks for your question today.
Thank you, Thomas. Tally ho to the British.
Absolutely. Also want to thank Laura Campbell. Thanks for your remote viewing update.
You're welcome. More to come next week. We're going to look at a lot of crap that's been in the news.
Excellent. Can't wait. Yeah, there was that stuff over Indiana. I had a bunch of videos on that. Sorry we didn't get to that. But, looked like flares, but the most weird kind of flares I've ever seen before. In the frequency and everything. So can't wait to see what our remote viewers maybe can get from that particular sighting. Also want to thank Nope. Syrup, thanks for the questions today, my friend.
Hey, no, thank you, Thomas. It was another good show, man.
Yeah. Tia, thanks for the commentary and being a part of the Elizondo interview.
I love it. Thank you. It was a great show.
Absolutely. And that takes us back to Mike. Mike, thanks so much for coming out and spending part of your birthday with us today.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it for anything. It was a great conversation, great show, and a lot of great people that came to spend time with us today. Yeah. Especially on my birthday today. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we need to get our MAGA hats, make aliens great again. We'll have to design those.
You mean the humans, right?
The humans. Oh, gosh, yeah. I am so glad we have permission to use that, and I'm going to use the hell out of that content. I'm going to have to create some little clips that we can pop up and play every so often. Well, on that note, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone, but...
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Love you. Can't wait to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.